I wanted to talk a little bit about climate change and how it affects something that's close to my heart, and that is our area lakes. Um, Lakes are very important to us ecologically and economically. Ecologically, they provide a lot of ecosystem services. They are, in fact, ecosystems in and of themselves. They are important for production of food. They're important for species diversity. They're important in nutrient recycling. They're also very important economically speaking. Economically, they're important sources of transportation corridors. They're important for energy, and there may be some other reasons that are very important to us too. For example, fishing. Fishing is a billion-dollar industry across the nation, and we love fishing. We love fishing so much that not only do we fish in the summer, but we also fish all winter long as well. We use our lakes for lots of other resources as well, simply recreational uses, having fun in the sun, exploring new areas, and swimming, and again, playing with your family. Perhaps one of my favorite uses of a lake is to sit at the edge of it at the end of a day of playing on the lake and take in that deep breath and have a little commune with nature a little bit and kind of have a moment to relax and think about your day. Lakes are very important to us for a lot of reasons. One of the things that we also know is that they are, that you've been hearing about all day, is how, what are the signs of climate change? And there are a lot of them, and there are a lot of them that are specifically affecting lakes. For example, temperature, air temperature, we know that's been increasing. Also of the lower atmosphere temperature is also increasing. Air temperature over the ocean is increasing. Sea surface temperature is increasing. All of these together are really increasing. Wow, that's like the end of the slide. Get the slide in reverse here. I don't know if we can go back. Go back. That was kind of fun. There we go. Nope. Why am I jumping to the end? There should be. I don't know if you guys can jump back for me. Back. There. Okay, we'll stop. What some of these increasing temperatures are doing is resulting in increased ocean temperature, increased ocean heat. We're also getting increased carbon dioxide in the oceans, which is resulting in acidification. What that is doing is making ecosystems like this potentially extinct in the near future. We have to look at a scene like that and realize that with climate change, what we are potentially pulling ourselves into is that my grandkids may never see a site like that. So it's really important that we keep in mind what's really happening with climate change. Climate change is also causing a decrease in glaciers. And something that we don't always think about, but we certainly feel the effects of it, is its impact on the humidity. You have increased temperatures causing increased evaporation, which leads to more water in the atmosphere. That results in more humidity. And we feel the strain of that humidity on a daily basis in the summer. Other organisms also feel that strain, and as a result, what we do is turn on our air conditioning and turn it up a little bit higher, which in fact uses more energy, which results in production of more carbon dioxide. So it's a bad cycle there. It's important also, as we're looking at climate change, to really recognize the fact that climate change is not something that, and increasing temperatures is not something that's going to happen in the future, but it's happening now, and it's happening here now. So here we are looking at temperature changes that have occurred in the last just over 100 years, of temperature changes that have increased 2 to 4 degrees Fahrenheit. That means where we're living here in northern Minnesota, and North Dakota, is roughly the climate now of southern Minnesota and South Dakota. That's what our ecosystem and that's what our climate is now like. What that does, we have increased humidity, we have these increasing temperatures. What that means is that we're going to get a lot more days where we have extreme weather events occurring. Weather events like this, and And even extreme downpours, like more rain coming in shorter periods of times. So across the state, Duluth dealt with extreme floods with a lot of rain coming over a short period of time, something that they're not used to. That resulted in severe damage to the area. It means that we're going to be spending more days like this and fewer days like this. But these extreme weather events can also impact our lakes and the area around us. For example, the deluge of rain that hit Duluth this last summer ended up creating a massive sediment input into the lake. It also then stirred up the bottom sediment. That brings up toxins that weren't in the lake before, that were settled out of the lake, that makes the water cloudy, which is going to change the productivity of the lake. Whether or not our lakes are able to deal with that is not entirely known, and whether or not they're going to be able to deal with these effects that are going to continue and become more frequent in the future is also something that we don't know very well. We can expect to find more droughts, more extreme weather conditions. This is Lake Minnetonka. And when we have droughts, what we end up seeing is conditions like that where our docks aren't actually in the water, but also when we're the one little body of water that we have left, we need to use it for irrigation. We need to use it for watering our lawns. We need to use it for our own drinking water. So when our resources become limited, we will then grab whatever resource is in fact still available to us. You may not believe it now, looking outside, but a result of climate change and global warming that we're seeing, increased temperatures, is in fact decreased snow amount. In the northern hemisphere over the past almost 100 years, we do have an overall trend for the northern hemisphere of having less snow. That means we have less snow, it means we have warmer temperatures. It's resulting in our lakes freezing later into the fall and into the winter. Here's Detroit Lakes in this light blue line here, and you might not be able to tell. It's about a 5 to 10 day change that we're seeing over the past, past about 100 years. Our lakes are thawing earlier. Here's Detroit Lakes hiding out here, increasing. So their lakes are thawing earlier. What that means is there are fewer days of ice cover on our lakes, and what that means ultimately is maybe fewer days of this. But also what it means, here's Lake Superior here, and this is some ice cover over Lake Superior. If you don't have this ice, the lake is black. That means it takes in more solar radiation, and that means it warms up, and it holds onto that heat longer with warmer air temperatures. And what we're actually seeing in places like Lake Superior is that the water is warming at a rate of twice that of the surrounding landscape, the temperature change that we see. Less ice, warmer water, more evaporation, lower lake levels, that can again have huge impacts on the ecosystem, the ecology, as well as the economics of this area. Now, this also is having big impacts on the ecology. So I'd like you to follow me here. What we have is our algae growing here in this dashed line. The algae, this is Lake Washington, and the algae are coming out about 20 days earlier than they used to. These guys here are actually tracking that algae pretty good. So the food becomes available, the copepods here, they become they come out and they are able to emerge and track the food. However, these guys here, Daphnia, they come out about here, which is when they usually emerge from the sediment, which is tied more into day length than it is into food source. So if these guys emerge and there's none of these guys to eat, they're not going to do quite so well. So what we actually end up seeing is what we can call food web decoupling. And if there aren't any of these guys around, the fish can try to eat the other ones that are around, but they're really fast. And as a matter of fact, they're less preferred food source for the fish, and so we may very well expect to see fewer fish than what we see now. We're not entirely sure. It takes a long time for these different changes to really develop, but we are starting to see some changes in that phenology that are making an impact on our lakes and how we use those lakes. With warmer water, we can expect to find more invasive species. We all know zebra mussel. We know how it can clog pipes. It can attack our equipment, like our boats, and clog the motors there. It also impacts the native species that are in the area too by killing them. This is not a fun beach to walk along. And if you ask people that live along Pelican Lake, they're now wearing shoes when they go for a walk on the beach. They can't walk barefoot anymore because of the impact of these invasive species. This is Eurasian water milfoil, and I don't know if you've tried to swim through that or take a boat through that, but we can expect more growth, more spread of invasive species. I've actually done both, tried to swim and pull a boat through it. It's not easy, and it's not a lot of fun. The last thing, if I haven't scared you already with the impacts that these can have on the lakes, I want to talk to you a little bit about cyanobacteria. These guys have been around for about 2.5 billion years. So they're used to a lot of different climates. They do particularly like warm weather. They're photosynthesizers, so they're part of the base of our food chain. And this is Lake Winnipeg here. And you notice in this case it's all green. That's a huge cyanobacterial bloom that we see coming up there. That huge cyanobacterial bloom is a result of these increasing temperatures and also some of those resultant effects those temperatures have on our lakes. This is the 10th largest lake in North America, so it's not a small lake, and the entire lake is experiencing this algae bloom. This is what those algae blooms might look like from the shore, and we are seeing them more often now. They used to occur in August. They're now occurring in July, and they're creating more algae more often and for longer periods of time. And so what do the cyanobacteria, what effect do they actually have on our lakes? They can, drinking contaminated water can cause skin irritation, stomach cramps, vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, fevers, sore throat, headache, muscle and joint pain, blisters of the mouth, and liver damage. Not a lot of fun. That impact is also can be a result of filtered water too. So it's not just that they're taking a drink of algae-filled water. This can be filtered water. The toxins don't always get filtered out. And so it can just be getting water from a lake in some cases when the cyanobacteria are present. Simply touching the water, being exposed to the water, can also have some of these similar effects. Cyanobacterial toxins may result in allergic reactions such as asthma, eye irritation, rashes, blisters around the mouth and the nose. These toxins are really big. They have huge impacts. Toxic algae found in 5 Indiana lakes. Couple says their dogs died after swimming in their lake. Dog's death is possibly tied to algae. State warns of toxic algae after trip dooms dogs. This last story was particularly heartbreaking. They had 4 dogs. They went to the lake. Within the day, one of the dogs died. Within 2 days, the second dog died. They had the other ones at the vet and on getting IV fluids and medications. I think another one of them did die, and only one of their dogs survived. You're taking your dog out to the lake for a nice swim at the beach. I'm reading more and more of these articles every summer about toxic effects of cyanobacteria on dogs. This is also actually impacting cattle ranchers too, that cyanobacteria is being found. And if I haven't scared you yet, this last one hopefully will scare you because it scares the life out of me. Alzheimer's and ALS, Parkinson's disease. What we're finding is that cyanobacterial toxins, one of them being BMAA, there are several other toxins. These are neurotoxins that are being linked more and more often to neurodegenerative diseases. So what we are seeing and what they're looking for, cases where you have increased incidence of Alzheimer's, increased incidence of ALS, that are in fact a result of cyanobacterial toxins. So what do we do? What can we do? Mitigation, certainly starting to try to minimize the CO2 that's going out into the atmosphere. Adaptation, putting in dikes, or one might say diversions, to try to manage for the changes that we know are taking place. But there's a lot that you can do too personally. I didn't want to leave on a sad note. I wanted to make that personal reminder, take a line from the President's strategic plan, whole self, whole life, whole world. The choices that you make every day. When you go to the grocery store, every time you purchase something, you are voting for what your conscience is and what you believe in. Talking to other people, educating yourself, educating others, becoming involved, letting your legislators know what you think. It's also very important to take that next step and get involved. And you can take that next step and get involved, whether through your own participation or through the participation of other organizations that you support, is getting involved in the world and seeing what the impacts of climate change are along the whole world. That is, in fact, becoming responsibly engaged in the world. And hopefully by doing that, we can have more days like this and fewer days of those bacterial blooms. I think maybe one question, if there's any questions. Take some.